Hello and welcome to the Good Wife podcast. I'm back again with another special conversation. I tell you, I only have special conversations on this podcast. I'm so glad you are back. Remember to give this episode a thumbs up if you like the content. We have conversations on faith, we have conversations on marriage, we have conversations on life in general. And the purpose, the goal for that is that you can live your life with more intention, with more purpose, and have a more meaningful, impactful life, whatever the decision is, whether you're dating, whether you're single, whether you're married, you're a mother, you're a wife, you're into ministry, you're in the corporate space, wherever it is, our goal is that you live the life that God intended for you to live. And so we do that through conversations. I'm back again with another one from two of my very, very good friends, Apostle Gerald and his lovely wife, Veronica Masinde, who I have had a front row seat to their life and to their marriage. And I was like,
That's
guys,
true.
Yes, it is true. Yeah. Right from uni,
That's
right?
true. That's true.
Right from the university. I'm so happy that you came. Thank you for being here.
Us.
They didn't look like this when we were at UCU.
It's been many years, probably
Yeah,
20
true.
years.
It's been many years.
Yes,
And
yes.
you've changed, you have grown, you've got some kamande also. Yeah?
I knew Rachel would say that.
You've got some kamande, because it was not always like this, if we're being honest.
That's very true.
If you know how university life
Absolutely,
is, you
absolutely.
know. And so I was doing mass communication, you were doing mass communication
Yes,
as
I
well.
was.
But you were like a year ahead of me.
Yes, I was.
Yeah.
You were
At UCU.
a baby
I was.
in first year.
So I'm your baby sister.
I was in third year.
Third year.
We come a long way.
Yes, we really have. And Apostle here gave me my first job.
Wow.
I don't know if you remember that. Of course
I
you
do.
do. Yeah. So when I finished the university in 2007, he actually, before I finished, he was
Yes.
like, by the way, I have work for you.
Yeah.
I said, you people, you mean you can finish work and there's a job waiting for you. So my very first job was at Spirit FM, where you were programs director
Yeah,
at
sure.
the time. And so that's how I started my career in the broadcasting space. Interestingly, I majored in public relations.
Oh, yes, I remember
Yeah,
that.
and you opened me up to the broadcasting world, which
What an honor.
I never would have thought of myself as a broadcaster. But obviously, you saw something in me.
Yeah,
So
certainly,
Right.
certainly.
you saw something in me. So, and then of course, Veronica was at UCU.
Yeah,
as
she
well,
was also
Yeah.
doing mass comm,
in
but she
what
did PR.
in what we used to call honors.
Honors
Honors
College.
college, yes.
So guys,
I tell you.
The rich fellas.
the rich people, yes, rich and clever.
The rich and clever,
Yes.
you know.
Honors college was for special.
Absolutely. I mean,
Special
it
people.
was total recall, of course. We're here
Yeah.
for that, maybe. But it was the first opportunity that I got to like enter a space where someone has a small fridge somewhere
Right.
on campus,
Yes,
and they have
yes.
snacks,
Yes.
and everything seems to be figured out.
Figured out for
Yes,
them.
Like, wow,
They
this
had
is,
travel
they have travel
opportunities.
opportunities, you know, and for us who are languishing, that's what they call
You know,
living by
hostel.
faith.
I know.
Yeah, but we are here.
We are here.
We made it.
We made it. The ground has been
Surely.
leveled. Yeah. We are all God's children.
Yes.
And the ground has been leveled. So yeah, that was university. We met at the university.
Yes.
And I think one of the things I appreciate about our relationship is that we have, first of all, we've carried on.
Sure.
We have thrived both in the workspace, but also spiritually. Yes.
And family.
And family
Yeah.
as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Because now you got to
Yes,
know my
right.
family, you guys are now
Yes.
family. You know,
Absolutely.
you're married, you
Yeah.
have children, and God has been gracious.
Absolutely.
You know, to the both
Yes,
of
he
you.
has.
So I just wanted to honor. I call him Apostle, but I feel like he's my friend.
Yes.
Apostle makes him
Apostle makes him
standing,
so. But I honor the anointing.
That's
Yeah.
right.
No, jokes aside. Jokes aside. Apostle has really been a voice in my life, checking on me, calling me, like even when life is taking you in different paths.
Wow.
He's constantly like, Rachel, how are you? I'm in the country. We need to meet. Let's do coffee. Let's and I really, really appreciate that.
Thank you.
So thank you for being here. I know your story, but the audience doesn't.
Right.
I know your story, and I know we've been joking and saying you have not always been like this.
Yeah.
So there's a story
There's
there.
a story
right.
back
Yes,
there.
and
sure.
I want us to go back to the beginning. Maybe if you could actually both speak to like your backgrounds, the kind of family you grew up in, Apostle, the kind of family you grew up in, and how that played out when
Yeah.
you met and you were like, I like this person. Oh, I also like this person. How do we like move forward?
Okay,
Yeah.
you want to start or I'm a type A kind of person.
I just want to go first.
So anyway, I my background was crazy.
Yeah.
I come from a family of it's a big family.
Yeah.
My mother and father, between my mother and father, we had 10 children.
Whoa.
And then we have others. It's a very big
Yeah.
family. Yeah, so I was raised, typically grew up by faith. Because you have family of 10, 12, including your parents. My father was a public servant. He was in the police force,
Okay.
earning so little.
I can imagine.
And yet we have to go to school, So there's many things that I missed out on. And today I can say that coming from a dysfunctional family helped shape certain things in my life. And I can comfortably say that. I'm not ashamed because that kind of background taught me to love God,
Yeah.
taught me to not to look down on people.
Yes.
Now that there's light
Some
at
lights,
the end of,
yes, of that tunnel.
Rachel says some,
Yeah.
but
It's a lot of lights. We're being modest.
interesting. Yeah, so I come from that kind of background where even going to school was hard, because then they had to, we had to sit in a family meeting and our parents would have to say, so who goes first? You understand? I remember this one time when I was in high school, I think in my senior 2, and so we have a family meeting and my father says, we have to choose who goes to school because you are in a lower class and your sister is in senior 4, so you have to stay home a little longer so that she can be able to go to school. You can imagine how I felt
at your age, having
my-
to make that
decision,
yes.
and it wasn't my wanting anyway. Yeah, so that's the kind of background
environment you're coming
that
from.
I'm coming from, where even there are days that we had just a meal a day,
Wow.
and so we've
Come from
gone
far.
through some stuff, and then of course I met Veronica at the university, and it's the opposite.
Complete opposite.
Complete opposite.
Complete
And-
opposite.
and-
But
and
even the university for you wasn't.
it wasn't.
a
Yes, it wasn't
straightforward
a
thing.
straightforward, walk through. I remember I was part of Compassion International. Compassion International used to run a program called the Leadership Development Program, and students who had excelled, but were also involved in their local churches all across the country would apply.
Okay.
Very competitive. I think our year, that was 2002, if I remember, were about maybe over 300
Wow. That's many.
needy orphan children that have gone through high school
Yeah.
and they can't make it for uni.
Yeah.
So I apply. We were probably about maybe 7 from my local church. I wasn't shortlisted.
Are you serious?
And all my hope was in that program,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
my dad said, there's just no way.
Yeah, I
At
can't
least you have gone.
Oh, that
You
was the
have gone.
conversation.
Yes,
at
that
the
was the
time.
conversation. He says at least senior 6 is not too bad.
It's not
You
bad.
know, you
Yeah,
you
you
can
do
divert,
something.
you can do something.
Hey,
You know,
hey.
and I said I always had this dream of studying mass communication and things of that sort. So I didn't make it for the short list. I was devastated. So I remember I spoke to my mother,
Yeah.
and she felt my pain and encouraged me to say, let's take some days to pray and fast, and so that we see what happens. And truly, the Lord did answer on the last day. My friends had already gone for orientation, but the last day of the orientation, I get a call from Compassion, and this is what they said. They said, well, we are going to put you on the waiting list.
Oh, you're not even there yet.
We're taking only, we took 20 people,
Yes.
but there's another 5 students that we have considered.
Yeah.
They don't have sponsors yet, but we'll put you on a waiting list and see what happens. In the event that a sponsor shows up, then you can be in the program. But for now, we can't promise anything. And I knew, I said, you get me that close.
you better get me.
I will get it.
Yes.
So that's how I believe that if maybe I didn't come to UCU, I wouldn't have met Veronica. Certainly, I believe in divine appointment.
Yeah.
So that's how I come to the university, while everybody's talking about where they came from, and and I'm like, I've also come.
Yes, I'm also here.
I'm also here.
Yes.
So that's the kind of background, that.
Wow. I mean, we've been friends for long, but I'd never had the university story. Yes. So obviously Veronica is like complete opposite, and I'm curious to hear.
Yes.
The complete opposite.
Well, mine, like it has already been stated, was different. And what makes it different is that, of course, we have a bit of a similarity in the sense that I come from a background that was like a polygamous family.
Yes,
We are many children. But in as much as that was the case, our dad took care of us. There's no one who can say that either I was deprived or something. So life civically was good.
Yeah.
The rich man.
He was a rich man, yes.
Yeah.
And that's the truth.
And it's the truth, yes. It's okay to admit.
So we thank God.
Yeah.
Of course, from the many children that we are, I'm the last born.
Oh.
Yes, so that made it also more special. Yes, like everyone would look out for me, and yes, I had everything I needed. However, what was still different about me is I was taken to boarding at an early age, and the reason was we had to change homes.
Okay.
And we were staying in Kololo, and we had to move to Chireka. Then Chireka wasn't as developed
as it is now.
Yes. So, but also the other thing, my dad wanted me to be grounded in the Catholic faith. I come from a Catholic background. So he took me to Namgogo Primary
School.
Yes. So that's I joined in my primary 4. But for me to join boarding, I started in primary 3. However, my mom had preferred to take me to Gayaza Junior.
Yeah.
And of course, that was contradicting.
What your dad wanted.
Yes. And so I just stayed there for a year. Then in P4, he took me to Namgongo. So I was there until P7. Then for secondary, I went to Uganda Matters. Yeah. So while I was at Uganda Matters in my senior 2, I felt like something was changing, something was different, but also I had a company of friends who were born again. Yeah, so that was the game changer. Like I gave my life to Christ, but of course in fear. First of all, the school I was in, they were strict. The moment they would, like news goes out that, you're born again, it becomes an issue. Actually, we got into trouble. We were a group of, I think about 9 of us, and we were subjected to, of course, face the headmaster, who is the current minister of education. No, not Minister of Education, State. Muyingo, actually. Yeah, so he's like, yes, we did really get into trouble. He's like, I know that in your class, you're among the best, but I don't care. Regardless of whether you're excelling,
performing well.
This is a Catholic school. I do not believe in balokole, born again. So if you do not reconsider your decision, you may have to leave the school.
Wow. So hey, you had to travail for your faith.
I was like, oh my God, what will I tell my dad?
Parents, yes.
Of course, I was really scared of my dad because he brought me and I was a Catholic. And how do I go home that I've been either suspended or... Yeah, so, yeah, that was my story. But the good thing is he was a little lenient. He's like, okay, it's okay. You can, like, of course, stay in school, but you need to be, like, cautious. Yeah. You don't get to the extreme and that
whatever
kind of
that
thing.
means.
Yes.
Interesting.
So
I know.
one of the things he was like, but when you sit for your senior 4, if it turns out that of course like you've still excelled and you want to come back to Namugongo, you may not be my first choice. Like as in. We will consider other people. Yes. But anyway, I had enough in a mixed school, and already, like, I had a conversation with my dad that I wanted to go to a single school. Yeah, like I had my reasons because there was so much distraction, and while I was there, one of my brothers was brought into the school. Yeah, but there was so much distraction, really. Yeah. So anyhow, I went through my secondary, and then of course it was time for me to go to university. There was a battle in the sense that, of course, one thing I didn't mention is while I grew up, my dad, I think he desired that I be a news anchor when like I grow up, and so his encouragement or inspiration was for me to keep like, of course, watching personalities that are in that arena. So there was a specific news anchor on CNN. She was called Veronica Pedrosa, actually. Either that's how he got inspired
for your name. Really?
Yes. So every time she was like anchoring, he would call me, you come and watch that lady. So I would watch her and watch her. Of course, I loved it for a bit, but when I got to university, like when I had to make a choice, I would have preferred to do something different.
Oh, but it had kind of been ingrained in you that this is the direction they wanted you to take.
So, yeah, and the reason I'm bringing that into our conversation is maybe if I hadn't done MassCom,
you would never have met your husband.
Yeah, so that's how everything, like played out. And
it's so funny the way our lives turn out. And they say life is lived in hindsight. So you realize the way things are happening. They happen the way they should happen.
That's right. That's true.
And so, I mean, thinking about what you wanted to do at school versus what your dad wanted you to do, and how all of that was leading to your purpose path.
Yes.
I think it's amazing.
Aligning.
But there were clear differences between your backgrounds. You come from well-to-do family, maybe polygamous, but well-to-do, and then you were coming from...
Yeah, man, it's street.
Street.
Kind of like, and that had a bearing on our marriage.
I can imagine.
Yes, because you just cannot separate your background.
That's true.
From when you start to raise a family. I mean, now that I am a pastor and I have officiated many weddings, and there are people that come to me and they want to get married, and I look at them, and instead of counseling them into the marriage, I counsel them out of it because they are not ready.
Yes.
The illusions and the ideas they have about marriage is not quite, and it breaks my heart when I see people that are going to hurt each other.
That's true.
Because they have not paid attention to
Background.
the background.
Yeah.
Background is very key because these things are going to show up. You like it or not.
Yeah.
It's the way I was raised starts to show up in the way I want to raise the children. You know, the way I respond to situations. You know, even in ministry.
Yes.
You know, I keep telling people that everything in life is in response to the seed that you've sown.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
Yeah.
The seed for a good marriage is not just prayer. It's
No.
communication.
Yes.
Because there are sisters who are not prayerful.
They are there.
They don't know the Lord.
Yeah.
But their marriages are okay.
thriving.
They're thriving. So we cannot say that, and that I think that's a problem we have in the church. Well, we will talk about that.
We will talk about it.
Yeah. So that background comes, and then of course we meet. Interesting how we met. I was preaching in the lunch hour in the chapel.
So you were already preaching?
Yes,
even
I
at
was.
the
In
university?
my high
Yes.
school,
Yeah.
I was a chairperson Scripture Union.
Ah, okay.
And I think that formed.
Yes.
I was a crazy boy, but senior 3 got hold of my heart and started, serving the Lord. I got attached to the local church, and then in my, I think S5, then I became a Scripture Union chairperson. They used to call us Papa,
You were the people who started the papa.
So and that formed
Yes.
the direction that I was going to take. My life changed greatly.
Yeah.
So I come to university and I want to serve the Lord, so I am already preaching because I was a youth leader in my local church. So I'm preaching on, I think, lunch hour, and this girl comes to the service and sits at the front.
Oh,
Can you imagine that?
that distraction.
I failed to preach. I'm telling you. For us, people who've been in the church business, of the quick things, raise your hands, hallelujah.
Kumbe, you are
But
recalibrating.
the people that knew something was wrong.
Yes.
My heart melted,
Bambi.
and that's how the thing started.
Yes,
Yeah, of course, she didn't say yes at first. She said no to me like 8 times.
I remember this part of your story.
Yeah,
Yes.
because
Why were you saying no?
She said she wanted to pray, but she wasn't praying.
She wasn't
asking her
Who
friends.
says that?
You were asking your
She was
friends.
asking them,
I was seeking
how is
God.
this? It's because I was like, one time I took Veronica to a fellowship.
Yeah.
The lawyers invited me
Yes.
to go and preach because I was preaching in almost every
Yeah.
fellowship around
Yeah.
UCU. So I went with her and I preached my heart out, and the power of God was there. And I was like, this girl, after this meeting,
She better say yes.
she's playing with God. And then as we walk out of the place and I'm escorting her back to her hostel, I tell her, I said, I'm sure
Hey,
and she said no.
you don't
She
fear
said
God
no,
there.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
I said wow. So it was, I think for her later, of course, I got to know that she'd been disappointed by a church brother.
boy.
Yeah, a church
Church
boy.
brothers, we need to
Yeah,
talk about them.
so and there are many watching.
Yeah, there are many.
So there are things that because of her upbringing, things like honesty, character is key. She just wanted to be sure that this guy is
He's
not
who he
is
says
who
he
he
is.
says
Yeah,
he is, and,
yeah.
and of course after some time, I think it was in our third year, we are about to leave uni. Of course, I proposed, and she said yes, and that's how it all
And that's
started.
how it all began.
But we dated for 3.5 years. Yes, before finally
Tying the knot.
2007, I marry her.
Yeah.
So we've been married
You've been
17 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Let's dial back to the church boys, and since you're in ministry,
Yeah.
I need you to address
That's it.
the church boys. So is it that they don't know what to do? They don't know how to approach girls? They don't understand commitment? Where is the gap?
I think, Rachel, the issue is
I've put you on the
and,
spot.
and the issue is I think most church boys, and I'm saying this with with all honesty, is they spiritualize everything. Let me give you an example. I used to go to visit Veronica, and every time I went to see her, I was telling her testimonies of who was healed, which demon
That
left
was your
someone. Can you
Kevin.
imagine that? And one time, my friend, my mentor, he came from Nairobi because I was telling him that there's this girl that I like.
Yeah.
I'm telling her
What God is
what
doing.
God is doing.
She's not warming up to
She's
me.
not budging. So my mentor told me, he said, brother, you go buy some flowers, go buy some candy, and then find a good, Rachel, at that point, I remember our first date, I had 3K.
I was going to come back to that. You had no money.
I had no money.
That's it.
I was church boy.
Proper.
So there was a canteen that used to be called Julius's
Julius's
Canteen.
Canteen,
I think
I
you remember
remember,
that.
yeah.
So I bought 2 samosas and a cup of tea. Tea, tea.
Max forever.
Not milk, tea.
Black
And black tea. And for me, I watched her. I had chewing gum in my pocket. So I watched her eating
Where
my
you
3K.
a bag. 3,000 shillings.
I said, this girl had better say yes, because this man has come from far.
From
This is
very
your
far.
friend.
Wow.
And it opened my eyes to the other facet of dating,
Yeah.
because I think most of the sons in the church or brothers in the church are, okay, let me take this thing to God in prayer. Everything it's prayer. Everything it's demons. Everything is the devil. No, not
Warfare.
everything. Life has teaches you
Dimensions, yeah.
many things.
Yeah.
You said it right.
Yeah.
Life has dimensions. Of course, I understand. Life is mostly spiritual than it is physical. But there are things. But God has also given us what we call a free will.
That's true.
For example, God is not going to choose for you who you are
Who
going
you're
to marry.
That's it.
That's true.
I always tell
Yeah.
people when I'm
Yeah.
talking to singles, I said there is the permissible will of God and there is the absolute will.
Yeah.
God, there is something that God would desire for you.
For you.
Because when He created you, He also wired your purpose. He actually first created your purpose, then He created you to fit within that purpose. Now you can choose. If I had chosen to marry another girl, I don't think I'll be dead.
Be alive.
I'll still be living,
right?
but the
Yes.
problems I'll be carrying, because it's a typical example is when the children of Israel asked for a king,
Yes.
and
Yes.
and they said they wanted Saul, but God had
David.
David.
Yeah.
and He said, well, because you've asked for a
Yeah.
king,
Let me give
then
you
let me
what you
give you.
want.
And
Yeah.
what Israel went through, the battles that, but David was the man that God had
chosen.
intended and chosen, that this man would then
Yeah.
rule the nation of Israel. So same thing,
Yeah.
I think if the brothers, the focus mostly is on sisters, but of late,
Yes.
I think I've seen some churches and places that are now helping young men. How do you work on yourself? How do you prepare for, if you've met this girl, because the intentions could be good, but the way you handle it,
Yes.
and that is very important,
good. Yeah.
even in marriage.
Even in marriage.
How
Yeah.
you respond to difficult situations.
Yeah.
There are moments when the Lord has told me, don't even bring it up. Wait.
Wait.
And I'm dying.
You
because
want
for
to
me,
address it.
my personality,
Yeah.
I deal with things the
As
way
they
they
come,
come.
yes.
I think also,
Why are we waiting?
also church has had a huge influence because I've been in church since I was 14.
Yes,
So I want to deal with the devil
that has presented itself.
head on.
Yes, yes. So you start with no money. And I would like to put myself in Veronica's parents' shoes. She has brought home a man.
Yeah.
First of all, you're still young.
Still young.
You've just come out of the
University. I was 25. She was 24.
Yeah. I mean, so how was that news received?
Oh,
back at
I
home?
was rejected. I was rejected.
I'm seeing how you would be rejected.
I had nothing.
Yeah.
I remember when I came to visit her at home, I came on a border.
Oh, Lord.
We parked like 200 meters away from the home.
There was no Uber then,
There was no Uber then. I wasn't. Her father, it was tough. I mean, she can
from your
narrate the story.
How your parents received your husband.
Well, of course, while I shared about my background, my dad had his reservations about born again.
Yes.
Of course, he had quite a number of experiences, like with pastors especially, like they've disappointed him. One of our sisters, the first one to get married to a pastor, was not treated well.
Ooh.
Actually, even when she passed on, the husband didn't come. They were staying in South Africa, so that's how bad it was. And then at one point, my dad had houses he was renting out, and one of them was rented by a pastor who was also defaulting.
Nice.
So there's
Pastors and you are testing. You need to redeem yourself.
So like you would want to empathize,
yes.
But also because I had a conversation with my dad, I think because of those experiences, and then of course being the last born, my dad like had an ideal, like of course man and the marriage that he wanted for me, but also because my sisters had also disappointed him in a way that they got married to men who are not Catholic. So that is what he had desired. So because I was the last, and so we had that conversation. He's like, okay, now you're out of school. When that time comes,
but that time was near. It was
exactly
here.
Yes.
The time has come.
Yeah, when that time comes, I hope you bring me a Catholic man.
Oh dear.
Like I am so ready to do even the wedding for you.
Wow.
Like I can do anything for as
Just
long
to
as
do
you.
me this one thing.
This is his last born.
Yes.
Remember,
So of course, to his disappointment, I have another conversation with him. Dad, yes, I know that we've walked a journey, we've had these conversations, but I've been seeking God, and my heart is settled to this man.
This non-Catholic.
Like, oh my God.
Broke
non-Catholic.
Hell broke loose.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you can't. You're even young. Like, you wait. Why are you rushing? I am not, like sending you away, from home. Of course, we kept having those conversations, hoping that, like he will yield and what. But it didn't. I then had to, of course, engage other elders, even on mom's side. And he had got favor before my paternal grandfather.
Oh.
Maternal.
Maternal,
Yes,
sorry. Because on the paternal side, none was alive. So I thought when he comes and they have a conversation with my dad, his heart will soften, but he kept his guards up, and he's stuck.
Wow.
Of course, then we had to involve his parents who came, and of course the mom, and being that the mother is Catholic, we in a way like thought that would
kind of bring your dad down.
But okay, eventually he he consented, although he didn't want to be involved. Yes, it's like, okay,
Go ahead.
since the children have decided, let them do what
they
want.
Yeah.
But
And
mommy, if you want, please
Go ahead.
Yeah,
you know
but
what
me,
that
I'm
means
not.
for.
Yeah, I mean that's
Yeah,
outright.
so,
I'm not part of this.
I'm not part of it.
Yeah.
My father-in-law didn't come for my wedding.
I remember that.
Yeah, he didn't
I
come.
remember that.
And of course, 2 weeks to the wedding, we did our introduction from her maternal grandfather's home,
Yeah.
which is typical
It's not,
out of
it's not the way
out
it's
of
supposed
the
to
way it's supposed
Yeah.
to be, the
Yeah.
culture.
Yes.
Yeah, but her mother on the other part, my mother-in-law welcomed me. The first day she saw me,
Oh,
she said, "You are the one."
really?
Yes, she said, "You are the one." She told her, she said, if this is the one.
This is the
So
one.
it was like,
God always
yeah,
has a
Yeah.
way.
so
Yeah.
and then of course now we can see how the Lord used her, and even with the ministry
Yeah.
we're doing.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks to the wedding is when I actually went to. He had seen me before, of course. I used to come, and he blessed us.
Okay.
Yeah, but he said he was a very principled man,
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
principled man. So you wouldn't just move him, and you know, and also because he had a good life,
Yeah.
you know. So
Yeah, and so he's looking at
he's
this
not
chap.
I know.
looking at
Like,
this chap, and and I'm glad that he went to be with the Lord.
Yeah.
I think
2012.
2012. I
yeah.
think we just had our second born, Elaine, our daughter. Third, in a way, we'll explain
yes,
why.
yes,
So,
yes.
so we went home, and you know, he of course received us, and he blessed us. I remember he gave me a gift. You know, he gave me money,
Oh,
and
okay.
he said, you know, thank you for taking care of my daughter.
My daughter,
So
yeah.
if I had messed up at that point, I think I would have broken his heart even before completely
Yeah.
even before he
Yeah.
went to be with the Lord. So I'm glad that I kept my word, and that the journey keeps going. Yeah,
Keeps going,
but
for
not only the other thing she didn't tell you. It's not only the father. Even the family, you know, because
they're influenced by the
that's
father.
the father,
Yeah.
when he makes a decision, then you
Everybody
feel
kind of-
everybody
Exactly,
else.
yeah.
So,
Falls in line.
so a huge part of the family didn't want to be involved
That's right.
in our stuff.
Must have been
You know,
hard.
it was very
Tough.
tough.
Because a wedding is supposed to be a
Exactly.
marriage.
It's bringing people
together,
two families
excitement,
together.
yes.
Yeah. So for me, the guys that contributed on my wedding were these border men I used to preach to. You know, the church folk. They came. We had, I remember, then you have a wedding reception of about 500 people.
Yes.
You are rich. You have money.
Yeah, you have money.
Yeah, in an open space.
Yeah.
Oh, a lot of them came.
Yeah.
The people we used to preach to on the street, my friends and everywhere, you know, they came. So God used people to stand with me.
Yeah.
And I think it's later than that her family, you know, started to see.
Yeah.
And things were very tough for us when we started.
Yes. Yes.
You've gotten this girl from a good home,
Wealthy home. Yeah.
and now you're taking her in Muzigo,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Really, love conquers all you
Yes,
people.
rented, you know.
One bedroom.
It was
One
a
bedroom or
modern.
Of course.
It was 2 bedrooms.
2 bedrooms.
Yeah, but considering where she's come, for me that was a mansion, because remember, I just
Where you
told
are
my
coming
story.
from.
That was a mansion. In fact, I told her, I said, we have arrived.
We have arrived.
But for her, you know, she used to be picked from school in a Mercedes.
Hey.
You know, me, I used to come on a border. In fact, I hired two. One carries my
One carries
bag,
your bag.
the other one carries me to
Yeah.
and fro. I have to fast and pray for the
Yeah.
money to take me to university.
Yeah.
You see
Yeah.
what I mean? So now we have come together. But one of the things, and I should say this now, that kept us together and kept us going even when we had challenges when we were starting, and even the first 5 years of our marriage were
Tell me
challenging.
this. Yeah.
There was a lot
Yeah.
of toxicity
Yeah.
that is coming from my background.
Yeah.
We were having offenses over each other, and you can't give what you don't have.
This is true.
You know, and I'm wondering, I'm saying, but I love this
this
girl.
woman. Yeah, she loves me.
She loves me.
Yeah.
And for me, a preacher, we start having fights Saturday night. Sunday morning,
Sunday morning
my
you have to
socks is
preach.
missing. Where's my
Where's my
socks?
sock?
I put it here.
Get back.
You know, and then we're in the car. Did we have a car then?
Did you have a car?
Border. We bought a
Yes.
car in 2008.
8.
Yeah, about 2009.
Nine.
So
yes.
2 years after you.
2 years after we got married,
Yeah.
we had a baby, and so we go and we at the fuel, the gas station, and I'm looking at her, because me, I remember that time, you know, I was working. You probably knew how much I earned because we were in the same,
At Spirit FM.
you know.
Yeah.
I was maybe earning 500,000.
That's very
You have a
little money.
family, you
Yeah.
have rent, but my wife was earning 3 times what I was earning. So when we go to the gas station, of course, I have to look at her.
Madam, indeed.
You know? Yeah. So she
But
brings
put
out
fuel.
fuel, and then we go to the church. I'm preaching, and after preaching, you need to eat.
Yes.
Yeah, so you need to go home. You are not full of the Holy Ghost. So we'd go home and we are struggling. But one thing that I appreciate about Veronica, even when we were going through the toughest of moments, she never ever went to her family.
Because she could have.
She could have.
As an option.
There are moments. We received some help. There was a time, it's like ravens came. You know, there was a car full of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, we feasted like for 3 months. But we didn't ask for the help.
Yeah.
It just
It
came.
just came.
She never ever went to her dad and said, I think you are right. No, she never
Wow.
told. There was a Christmas where we were invited, but we didn't want to go
Yeah.
because everybody's going to look at you
Yes.
and say, but these people
But
don't
this
look
one
like
don't
us.
look like. Was a
You know,
difference.
yeah. You have the anointing, but you are
But
broke.
you are broke.
So how do you explain that?
Yeah.
And so we didn't go. We stayed home with our son,
Yeah.
Ethan.
Yeah.
He's turning 16. And we stayed home.
Yeah.
She prepared a meal. I think that meal was probably about maybe 15,000 on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
You know, come from
That's
church.
Irish.
We've had a powerful service.
Service.
People
People
are
have been
enjoying,
blessed.
People have been blessed. But you're going home
To eat your meal of 15K.
You know, and we stayed there and we held hands to pray. So I was saying something that we knew that even with the challenges we were facing, this marriage was ordained by God. And I think that's what
powerful.
held us together,
Yeah.
because we fought,
I can imagine.
we offended each other.
Yeah.
I was trying to be the man that I was not.
Yeah. You needed help.
I needed help.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I needed help. First of all, I needed to fall at the feet of Jesus to help me. And then I needed to know, how do I love this woman
Yeah.
the right way?
The right way.
The way that the Lord would desire me to love her. You know, I remember around that time I really broke down. We had an argument, you know, and I walked out of the house, and I went and spoke to the Lord, and I said, God, I'm struggling.
Yeah.
I don't know. Meanwhile, she's also talking to the Lord, and she's saying, if this man comes back and he says sorry, you know, then I can give him a, because she it's not that she doesn't have where to go.
Yeah.
You know, but we have to make it work. So that is very important for couples that are, and every marriage the first years of your marriage,
Are going to be stretched. Yeah.
it's like the seed you're sowing
Yes.
for the things that you will
To
experience much
Yeah.
later.
Yeah.
So having that rejection, so to speak, and not received well.
Yes.
One time I remember, I just recalled this. We went for a function at home, and I came with some of my brothers. You know, a brother should always have these brothers who push you.
Yes.
You know, we hired a Corona. You know, those were the cars.
Back then,
Back then, it wasn't even ours. We put in fuel, and we went for family function at their home. I think one of her sisters' home in Munyonyo. You know, we got there, and man, when we reached there, we couldn't park. Like the cars
Yes.
that were
Yes.
in the
the
area,
parking,
I
yes.
told the brothers, I said, let's leave this thing. Otherwise, we may be judged.
We may be judged even more harshly.
The rides that were there,
Wow.
I mean, some people may say those things don't matter, but
They matter.
I have 17 years experience. You know, there's something, self-esteem and self-confidence are not the same.
No, they're not.
Yeah, esteem has to do with the inside,
Yes.
how you feel on your
Yeah.
inside.
Yeah.
Confidence is mostly on the outside.
Yeah.
That's why when you're dressed well, there's a certain level of confidence that you have
Yeah.
when you've gone to school and you're talking to people who are learned. You know,
You're
there's a
confident
way.
in- yes, in yourself.
Yes. So I told my best man, I said, man, I don't know why we came. Yeah. So we will leave this car 200 meters away, and we shall
And
walk there.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
and of course that made a statement. Yeah, that did make a statement. When we went back with my friend, we kept having conversations and said, I think it's possible. You know, I was talking to a friend of mine recently, and I told him that when you want your children to have a certain mindset about life, don't only take them to these camps where they bring people to speak to them. Put them in the car, drive them to a neighborhood where you want them to see the kind of life
Yes.
You see?
Yes. That you envision for them.
you envision for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, put them in the car, take them to places,
So do you
and
like that
show
house?
them. Say, do you like that
Yeah.
house?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then when you
Yes.
go home, you tell them that now these are the things you need to do.
Yes.
You
To
need
get
to work
there.
hard. You
Yeah.
need to be a man of integrity. You need to do your assignment.
Yeah.
You need show them how life
Yes.
Yeah.
works,
Yeah.
other than just taking them into camps and lock-ins and let them envision the kind of life.
Have a picture.
Have a picture
Yeah.
of.
Yeah.
There is a place that I used to take my son, a posh neighborhood, and I would show him the houses there. And that time when he had just started school, first of all, his school where he used to go, you know, we have to first go and explain
I
to the
know.
basa, you know. You see
Nice.
that? The little man paid the price for the rest of. Today, that's not our story.
Yeah.
You know, now he's able to see that what I showed him
Yes.
16 years ago, he's
Coming to
experiencing it.
life. Yes.
You know, he can
Yes.
have what he wants
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
He can go to the school of his choice,
Yeah.
and he can go for holiday
Yeah.
if he wants. But before that, I try to paint the picture, because sometimes I have seen people who, and we face this even in our nation today, where people their character has not been formed to the positions they are in today.
That's true.
So they do weird
They
things.
do
and you
strange
want
things. You're
strange
like,
things,
how
and
could
you're
he
like,
do that?
how
A
could
whole
a grown
minister.
up, a whole minister, you know? How could he do that in
Yeah.
public?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
There was never exposure.
Yeah.
So that's
The
very key.
character and the role
The
have
character
not.
and the roles, they have not
they have not
synced,
synced.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so true. Veronica, I'm so curious to hear from you. Like, what was going on through your heart in those seasons? You don't have money. And we know us women, we like some kakampat. Hey, to know that I can buy some chicken today, tomorrow we shall eat cooked beef. But like, what was going on through your mind, especially knowing you have a home where you can run to, you have been warned that this man has nothing, and then how did you keep the integrity of your husband and not, go back home and say, by the way, you were right about this man, musoke mumpoleyo, some kamani.
Well, for starters, what helped me, because there were times when we would go in family meetings and my dad makes reference of me. Joyo momulaba. Yagambo yo mwami we. Like, of course, like he said that many times. So in my mind, I was like, Daddy, I have to prove you wrong.
Yes,
so
yes,
of course
yes.
that in a way was also a motivation.
Yeah.
But also I knew that like my marriage hasn't been like I have to leave it.
Yes.
Like I have to go through like the process and all that.
The same way other marriages do.
Exactly. And then of course like my solace really was good because I know that seasons come and seasons go. So for as long as I would pass that season, I knew that
There's better coming.
yes, there was
There's better coming.
was.
That's actually
Sure.
quite encouraging, because I think it's easy to give up.
Yes.
And I mean, when you're seeing week in, week out, month out,
Yeah.
like life is not really changing, and then you're fighting, with this very same person. I think it really does take the grace of God to say, let me keep
That's
going.
right.
That this is a
right.
season, it's going to end, and better is coming. So now you're both married, you are in ministry. I mean, your ministry has been growing. Talk to us about being married in the public eye. When you're at the forefront of the ministry, there are other
Many
girls and women,
expectations,
there are
absolutely.
expectations.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What's that like?
I think, well,
and sorry, let me add something else to that question. What's that like? And then what has life been like as ministers? I don't think it has been easy. So talk about maybe one or two experiences that you've been like, man, this life of ministry is
it
tough.
is, yeah. Suddenly, it's not easy. I always tell people that, I mean, some of us, if we had a chance to choose something else, maybe
be happy to.
would be happy too.
Yeah.
But this is what the Lord called us to do. Marriage in the public eye, I can say this, it doesn't matter whether you're a pastor, a bishop, or an apostle. Every marriage goes through storms.
Yeah.
And regardless of whether you are highly anointed, the process,
You're still human.
you're still human. I mean, my wife has pushed 5 babies, and
yes.
she's had to go through the process.
Yes,
We prayed and of course she will talk about one of the most traumatizing times that we had in our years we've been married. So that has to be experienced. And I want to say this, that most ministers live a life that is pseudo. I can tell you that. I've been in church for a while. The experience at church or as a minister is not in tandem with what's happening at home.
That's true.
And that has been kept in the dark. How will people know? And I made some mistakes, horrible mistakes. And today I look back and I said, I wish I had given more time to family
Marriage.
and solving. Today, by the grace of God, I travel a lot, for ministry. And I always look forward to spending time with my children, with my wife. And I make time even with the busy schedule to first time with her. And these are values that I have maybe for the last 10 years you know, I have kept propagating, you know, and I'm telling God, I want to be like this. Yeah, but before, even from some of the people that I was looking up to, it was like, just be good in church. Just as long as the ministry is running,
Then God will
you know,
help
God
you with your
will help
family.
you with your family. No, there's some work
Of
that you're
course.
supposed to do.
That's true.
The pressure is too much.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. I mean, yes, the women are there everywhere, you know,
And the men.
and the men, yes, and the men. And the thing that this is one of my principles is that you know, the way you handle your wife or the way you handle your marriage is the way people are gonna
Handle
it.
That is true.
Yes.
That's true.
If they see that you don't give much attention to your spouse, your family, you've given them an open access. You know, yeah, the women are going to come to you. They will know that
You're available.
you are available. They know that you know, for example, when I'm in the car or when we're in the car and we have somebody else who is not family or person ministry, I don't want to be interrupted when I'm talking to my wife. You know why? I'm trying to tell them that this is
important
special.
to me.
You understand? I don't allow people to sit at the front. You
Standard.
know, in the
I
car.
tell you, go
you
and
know.
sit at the front.
Yeah, apart from there are certain people like my mother,
Yes.
my
Yeah,
sister, or people that are close to us,
Yeah.
both
Yeah.
of us, and that wouldn't be a problem. Yes, but even when she's nursing a baby, would have to have someone in the car, you know, or put the baby in the carrier, and then she's because for us, because of our schedule and that's a time for us to talk
To bond.
and to bond and
Yeah.
communicate.
Yeah.
You see, when we are church, I always tell people, I said, if you have a problem with my wife, then you can't be in this church. Yeah.
You have a problem
Because
with
you have a
me.
problem
Yes.
with me, because it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
Because we are the leaders,
Yeah.
and you're going to be seeing us
Very often.
quite often
Yeah.
and all the time.
Yes.
Yes. By the grace of God, again, I think we serve together. My wife has not left me
be at
to
the
be the
forefront,
pastor, and for her she's
yes.
saying,
Yeah,
you are the one the Lord called, you know, because I see that with some ministers.
Yeah.
We are together.
Yeah.
Whatever we're doing, our programs rotate around both of us.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
church, family, work, everything is around our schedule. So the people that know us will know that if you talk to his wife, she will tell you which day he's free.
Yes.
And which day he's really busy, which
Yes.
times he's able to see you. There are seasons when I take off time to seek the Lord, you know, and she's aware. So she will be able to tell people, I don't think he's available, but try, you know, things like that. The public has expectations.
Of course.
There's a certain way a man of God should behave, you know. And we try to tone it down really because we are human beings.
First, yes.
We are human beings
Yes.
first before we are ministers.
you're
You know,
ministers.
so the whole thing of ministry, because some people find us in places when I've taken my wife out and they're like, "Oh, Apostle," you know, and I'm like, "No, we just
here.
came. We just came to.
Yes.
She asked for ice cream, so we came."
Like normal people.
They're normal people.
Yeah.
So and I think that's great advice
Yeah.
to ministers, young ministers who are in the public eye, because the people will always demand certain
Yes,
things.
yes.
Have there been moments where I have had to give more to ministry than my family? Absolutely,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
I would be lying if I said no. Absolutely, yes. I think, and God is helping me, you know, to just align things and because now the kids are they're older. They're not babies anymore. Well, we still have a baby, but the others are able to take care of the little ones. So that means that we can go away and leave our older children in charge of the younger ones. and that's okay.
That's okay.
You know, before we were like, oh, so what's going to happen at
Yeah,
church?
to the kids, to the church.
To the church, you know, and that is killing marriages of ministers.
That's true.
Ministers,
Yeah.
and
That's very
until you structure that,
That's right.
things are always you'll be in trouble. You'll
Yeah.
always be coming back to the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like what you said, that the way you handle your marriage is the way the public is going to handle it. Actually, whether you're in the public space or not, I think what you do with your marriage communicates to other people
That's
that here there's a gap, I can take advantage of it. If you're the sort of man who you talk to people at 11:30 p.m., 12 midnight, somebody will check and see, is it okay to call this person? If you pick up and you are okay talking, they'll be like, no, that guy is cool. Other married men, you don't call them, but that one, you can call him.
Imagine that.
You know, so
know.
I think it's upon us to just be careful with how we
That's
portray. What message are you sending?
Are you
Yes.
sending to the
To
people?
the people.
And Rachel, for me, I have just grown in that area.
Yes.
Because my wife has a story. She can tell you.
Let her tell you the
She
story.
can
You
tell you
might,
the
you might
story.
water it down.
Stories, because my kind of personality,
Yes.
I am a very, my heart is open.
Yes, you
Yeah,
are.
that's right.
I love pouring into people.
Yes.
That-
Yeah.
Maybe that's the reason why I'm in ministry,
ministry.
into ministry. And I was a youth pastor for a couple of years, so I loved hanging around young people. So I would spend
Time with people.
time with people, and that's
It's
what
bound to
brought
cause
problems.
some
Veronica can
friction.
tell you, because now we can talk about it.
Yes.
Yes.
It's a scar, it's not a wound.
It's not a wound.
Of course, like the initial years of our marriage, like it's something that, like, of course I was battling with, but eventually, like, I had to, of course, learn, but also realize that the man I got married to,
Yes.
okay, in as much as, yes, he's my husband, but now I need to also recognize the call on his life.
Yes.
Then,
And not hinder it.
yes, but also the other thing is that he's a global minister, if I could put it that way. So there are moments when he has to stay up late
Yes.
to of course to connect to
accommodate time
yes,
zones.
yes, to those other people, and then of course it will affect ideally our time that we would like literally be together. But like he has said, he has had to, of course, realign or restructure
grow.
himself.
Yeah.
Yes, but also grow. And I'm so happy that, of course, there is growth.
Yes.
There is growth. Like he's now more intentional about it. Actually, there are moments when I feel like he's now overly. Like available, okay, for me. Yes.
You see that?
There's no winning.
Exactly. Yes. So I am really grateful.
Yeah.
Of course, one of the challenging things has been the moments when he has to leave. Yeah, like there are periods when he's been away for a bit, and of course there was a particular time that he had to leave when I was either had just given birth.
You were expecting.
No, she had surgery.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
she had a procedure.
Yes,
For
yes.
our, was that our last born?
Last one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even with the
No, our second last
Second
born.
last,
Yes,
yeah.
the boy.
Yeah.
She just had surgery. I had a meeting, a conference to speak at, and so I had to fly out to the States. And oh man, it was painful.
Must have
I
been.
mean, for someone who doesn't know, flying to the States, they'll be like, man, I would do anything
To fly.
to fly. I was, Rachel, I struggled.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I remember she released me, you know, even with the pain. I always take a picture with my wife before I fly out, especially if we're not flying together.
Yeah.
So I take a picture. And so I remember I still have that picture. I don't want to look at it because
reminds
it
you of
reminds
a
me of
struggle.
she's just
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
surgery. But this is what she told me. She said, honey, the Lord called you.
Yeah.
You have a ministry.
Yes.
Yeah.
We will be fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I got on that plane and went and did what I had to do. And after a few weeks, of course, came back. And so that for me was comforting
Yeah.
that my wife truly understands that we've been called for this thing. And I think, let me also add a little bit to what she was saying. I think this is going to help maybe a wife of a minister. Your ministry is not to hinder
The ministry.
the ministry of your husband.
Yeah.
Because there are ministers that are called in different ways, and there are ministers that are called together. You know, Veronica is a pastor now, and that call is strong. She runs a ministry called Deborah Generation. She's been doing conferences. She's an author, and she's been doing these things. My role is to support her, not to suppress her. Imagine if I said I am the man of God.
So you what?
You know,
business
so
you have?
what, you know, take care of the children.
Take care of
Because I
the
see
kids.
this when I'm talking to pastors and leaders. So I think it's important for people to know then that, you know, the man that I married has such a strong call. So how do I fit in? Of course, the responsibility is also on the man's side to help the woman. You understand?
Yeah.
You know, Ben has to help Rachel and say, oh, there's this thing. And there are things that for us, the men would
You will see
quickly.
Yes,
And
yes.
we say, for example, I saw an author
in your wife.
in my wife.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't published my books yet. I have several, but I have not published yet.
But she has.
But she did.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had to you know, take care of that.
Yeah.
I had to go with her with my networks in the media, you know, put her on television, radio, and I go with her. I was the one holding her bag, you know. In the public eye, I seem to be known more than her.
Yeah.
But this time, she's the woman of God.
Yes.
So I was
And
telling
that's
people,
okay.
I said, no.
Yeah.
The woman of God is here.
It's not me.
She's not me. This time I'm holding the bag. Yeah, that shouldn't be a point of contention for couples.
No,
when
it shouldn't be.
We shouldn't be. When you know that this woman has been called. The other thing, my wife did her master's before I did. I paid for it. I had to stay with the babies because she was studying over the weekends.
Yes.
Some days, weekends, she wasn't even in church.
Wow.
And people are asking, maybe they have problems. Maybe the marriage is over.
They have problems.
Know that
Wow.
she's actually studying.
Yeah.
And I had to go through all that. And then when she finished her master's, then I got an opportunity,
do yours as
scholarship,
well.
and mine entailed that I travel, you know, for hybrid, you know, considerable amount of, you know, weeks to be able to study. Yeah, and it was a joy. There was no strife in that. Because sometimes I think we overly complicate things in marriage, and then those become wounds.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you keep pointing to them, and yet it is something that you can actually solve by understanding that, you know, I married a mid-air person. You know, Rachel is an anchor.
Yeah.
So I believe there are days when Ben had to come and
Go
wait.
home early and wait for me.
Yes, you know, in the parking lot.
Yeah.
So that you do
do the job.
the bulletin and then come and go home.
For sure.
You know, and he was happy to do that. So we have to strike a balance. Really. Yeah.
We really do. Can you talk about, okay, so I feel like your journey has been plagued with some difficulty. The start, first of all, was what would you say has been the most challenging season yet? Even as we begin to wrap up this conversation.
Sure.
Yeah. What has been the most challenging season, and maybe what has it taught you about God?
Well, of course, we share in that. I think for me, it was when we lost our daughter. 2010. we're expecting our second born. It's a girl, we know. We check into hospital, and the baby, she gives birth normally, and a couple of hours later, the baby develops complications, and the baby doesn't make it.
Oh dear.
And so she doesn't know. She's in the nursing ward. I am this side in the nursery, and I have to
Break the news
to her. It was very difficult, and it changed our lives.
I can imagine.
Because we are ministers of God. The baby was born fine. It's moments like those begin to check your faith and your trust in God.
Yeah.
She got into depression. I was very discouraged. I wanted to quit the ministry. 2010.
Yeah.
So that's about 14 years ago, isn't it?
Yeah, about there.
I wanted to quit. I went and spoke to my pastor. I said, I've been serving God and I don't understand this, you know. Emotionally, you know, we are leaving hospital and we've left our daughter
in a morgue.
In the morgue. We're going home
Without a baby.
Without a baby. We are ministers. That's why I told you, I said, we are first human beings before we are ministers.
Yeah.
But you can have those conversations with God, you know. And, but we are thankful. The scripture says in 1 Thessalonians 3, I believe it's verse 15, we should give thanks to God in all circumstances, especially those that belong to the body of Jesus Christ.
Yes.
That may sound vague
Very
to
vague,
people who
yeah,
have
who have no-
you know, but if your anchor is the Lord and our Savior Jesus Christ, He will help you through. We learned a lot from that experience, that Veronica is even able to help so many, she's helped so many mothers who have lost their children and gone through that. It was tough. We kept looking at each other. You have plans and you know that kind of thing. I couldn't. It took me maybe 6 months to stand and preach again. You know, Veronica had to get into school so that it would sort of help her with healing, and she can also tell you a little bit about that. Yeah.
Maybe what I can add is like I had conversations with God, and like for a moment I wanted like I was telling him, you know what, like this is too painful.
It's too painful.
So can I give it a break? Like it is okay. It is okay even if I have just
this number of children.
It is okay. Yeah, but by His grace and mercy, I actually conceived 8 months after the loss. But of course, even when it happened, like, of course, I had mixed feelings. I'm like, okay,
I don't want
will
to go
it
through
be,
this
you know?
What?
Yes, it was really a journey that I had to walk. Now, what was like in a way a bit, of course, still disturbing is the baby we lost. Actually, I had gone for a usual antenatal. Yes, but I was on insurance at that time. So my gyne had like delayed. We were many expecting mothers waiting in the queue. So there's a nurse that identified me. She kept moving around, of course, like doing her duties and all that. And she comes to me. She's like, I've been passing here and you seem uncomfortable. So I'm like, yes, I'm beginning to feel pain that I don't understand. So she took me aside. Actually, when she assessed me, I was in labor. And I was 7.5
centimeters.
No, like...
Oh, wait, 7.5 months.
Yes.
Oh.
But of course, even the centimeters had really progressed. I was actually 8.
Wait.
So they just rushed me to the labor suite and
Yeah.
I gave birth normally.
Okay.
But the baby was like alive.
Healthy, alive,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Okay, yeah.
And that was Kampala Hospital. So, of course, like he narrated, it took like hours. But there was a negotiation that was happening. I think they realized that their facility was not well like equipped, and so they were planning to have us be transferred, I think, to Mulago. So there was also that delay, and in that process that happened. So back to my story, like even Elaine, I remember I had my last antenatal with, now I was seeing another guy, and of course they did the assessments, everything was okay. And he just mentioned that I had like a mild infection, but for as long as I take the medication and rest,
You'd be
all
fine.
will be fine. So we went back home and I knew that all would be well. So at about 3 a.m., like I start bleeding, like it wasn't like heavy as yet. So when there were signs of bleeding, I called my guy, his phone was off. So I tell my husband, like the moment, like let's give it like the next 2 hours. If nothing has changed, we will just have to rush to hospital. And of course now we began to prepare. So we did exactly that. Actually, labor was progressing. Even
In
then.
the bleeding, in that period where you were bleeding.
Yes. So I was like, God, wait a minute. I thought we had this conversation.
Yes.
I had told you it is okay.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
now here I am, here am I at this point anyhow. So we rushed to Kololo Hospital then, and of course they assessed me and I am like in labor, of like I am ready. So I still go to the labor suite and I give birth.
Yeah.
So I was battling in my mind. I'm like, God, not again, you know. Yeah, but thankfully, I thank God that my mom was there and she kept speaking faith.
Yeah.
You know. Yes, she really spoke faith, and thankfully, of course, their facility was good enough, and baby was okay, and she actually picked up so fast.
Quickly.
That the ped was amazed. Yes, of course, for her she had to feed in a tube for a week, but it wasn't really prolonged, and we didn't stay so long in the hospital. Yeah, God was gracious, and yeah, and of course we did the kangaroos and all that. And here we are, Elaine is well and
alive and well.
Oh, she's amazing.
Beautiful
She's
girl. She
12.
turned
She's
12 recently.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah.
She's oh man, we are so for some reason I'm so attached to my daughters.
Yeah.
My
Because
son should
there's
not
a
hear
story
this.
there.
Yes,
Yeah.
I love all my children,
Yeah.
but the girls, because all of them have been preterm.
Yes.
Yeah,
Even
the
your last
baby,
one.
yes,
Yes,
she's
even
also,
your last one.
She came at 7.5, but at the same time, and so they've been, but they just blossom so quickly, and she makes 2 in January, but the things she's saying, she's calling names, and
Such a beauty.
So it's God just has a way of we can't explain. The boys come full term.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
All of the two
The
boys.
2 boys,
9
Eliezer
months.
and wow.
Eliezer and Ethan.
Yes.
The girls, I just can't explain it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So there's just a way God has to show us that He's Almighty,
Oh yes.
that He's involved in the nitty gritty, the little things that we think He's involved, and He's right there.
I'm reminded of when Lazarus died and they told Jesus and he took an extra 2 days.
Yes.
And I think he told his disciples, that this happened so that the
Yes.
Lord
So that
might
the Lord,
be glorified.
Yes, glorified.
And I think there's another parable in the Bible where I think there was a child who was born without limbs, And the disciples were asking Jesus, but so did this
Would
boy's
the
parents sin?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And said, no, certain things happen so that God might be glorified.
Glorified,
you know.
absolutely.
And I think in our challenges, in our seasons,
Exactly.
some things happen, we don't get them.
Yes,
But
in
now
the
that you're
moment,
talking about it,
Talking
it's like,
about
wow,
them.
God.
Yes.
And I'm glad
You know?
we went through it. I
Yeah.
was ministering to on one of the mission trips that I did. One, a friend of mine that had lost a baby, and I told them, I said, I may not have the right words to tell you, but I know the experience. I know
I've
the
been there.
experience. So,
Yeah.
and I carry grace to be able to walk with you
With
through
you.
this journey, because
Yes.
I've been
Yes.
through it. I know there are
Yes.
many things that, and there were also practical ways that we can walk with people, because
Yeah.
there are things we
right.
did. Yeah, it wasn't only prayer,
Yeah. Yeah.
because now, like she told you, the whole phobia of conceiving
I
again.
can imagine.
You know.
Yes.
Yeah, but experiences are different.
Yeah.
So we
True.
had to trust God and heal, and also invest in our marriage.
Yes.
Because I
yes,
think the
yes.
children are a byproduct
Of the marriage.
Yes, the marriage.
Yes.
If the marriage is not healthy,
Yes.
I mean, you
Yeah.
wouldn't even be thinking about the children.
true.
So yeah,
That's very
so
true. That's true. I mean, as we close, I don't want us to close with a sad, somber story. So I know that God has done some really good stuff for you guys, and so I want us to end on that note. Like, how has God turned around your lives? Just one or two things that, off the top of your head, you can say, man, if God hadn't come through here, if God hadn't changed this aspect of our story, I don't know where we would be. So could you just share as your parting shot, to encourage somebody,
Yeah,
you know, that
sure.
they might be going through
That's right.
3 of the things that you have talked about, or maybe even all of them. They are fighting with their husband. If they are broke, they don't have money, you know, offense is happening, they've lost a child,
Sure.
they're discouraged. What would you say to them to encourage them, that based off of what God has done for you?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rachel. I think for me, or for us, we've seen the faithfulness of God.
Yeah.
And our encouragement to those the people that have a privilege of watching our
Yes.
story.
Yes.
We've kept this really.
Yes, very. They're sharing it for the first time, by the way, on this
We've
channel.
had, yes, we've kept it really tight, and but Rachel has been part of us, and so it's an honor for us to come
I appreciate
and be hosted by her just to share our story.
Yeah.
But this is what I would encourage couples out there, that please give God an opportunity to work in your marriage,
Yeah.
because the things that we encountered, I mean, Veronica had every reason to leave me.
Yeah, no one would judge her.
I mean, at some point I was like, God,
What is this?
this is tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought because I'm a minister, I'm a pastor, things are going to be, there's that happily ever after.
Yes.
And I'm dealing with stuff.
Yeah.
We're battling stuff.
Yeah.
I gave God an opportunity.
To be God.
We involved God in our marriage. Veronica believed in me, and she still does believe in me. So that was a good place to start.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. They are, I think, about a year and a half when I didn't have work. She goes to work,
Yes.
and I'm the
You
one
determine how the money is
determining
spent.
how the finances
Yes,
are.
yes.
That didn't pinch us even a bit,
Yeah. Yeah.
And then seasons changed when now I was earning 5 times that she was making, and that didn't even change me, because there was a season
There was
when,
a season.
when I need a new suit
Yes.
to go and preach.
And she
And
would
she had
happily
to
provide.
be able to.
Yes.
So we've seen the blessing of
Yeah.
God,
Amen.
Yeah.
and we've seen God turn around our story.
Yeah.
The things that we faced today is a testament. Today is a testimony.
Yeah.
The Lord has blessed us.
Yeah.
We are not struggling.
No, you are
like
not.
we used to.
I can't tell. I've even been to their home. Banage.
God has turned back. It's like the
Yes.
pain. The
Yes.
scripture that comes to mind is when the Lord returned the captivity
Captivity
of
of
Zion.
Zion.
We were like those that dreamt.
dreamt.
Surely,
Yeah.
I think that's our story.
Yeah.
I can now afford to take her to Paris. You know,
I mean,
she
after
always used
struggling
to
all
talk
those
about
years.
Now, those that thought that the Lord had left us,
Yes.
you know, because when we lost our baby, I couldn't. There's a time I was evicted.
Oh,
Yes, we
from your house.
defaulted 4 months.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we were, and this is what the landlord says. He says, Pastor, you're a man of God, but you find another house.
Oh my
Because I
gosh.
couldn't pay.
Yeah.
Rachel, how much?
Can you
250,000.
imagine that? 250K.
I couldn't. 4
Well,
months.
when you count times 4 months, that's $1 million
That's
shillings.
$1 million shillings.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I went through that humiliation.
Yeah.
That time, I think, I don't know whether we had Facebook, but it was, social media wasn't as, it would be bad,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But she still believed that I was the man. And today we live in our own home.
Yeah.
And we've hosted people.
Yes.
We've, you know, housed people who've
Yeah.
been evicted
Yeah.
before because
Yeah.
we know the pain
Yeah.
that, you know, couples would go through. So we've seen the blessing of God. We've seen light. Even in our 17 years, we still have forever to go.
Yeah.
When we turned 10 years in our marriage, we did our wedding again.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yes. I
And
remember.
we renewed our vows.
Yeah.
Our kids were there.
Yeah.
We called our very intimate friends to be part of our journey. There was no wedding meeting.
See God.
And so
Yes.
we delight in and it's by the grace of God.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I would also like to add the fact that I remember when we had just started ministry, like the ministry that God put on his heart to start. Like, he used to invest a lot in the ministry. Like, there would be moments I would tell God, but
You don't
really,
have
like
money.
everything
And
we
he's
are
putting in
putting
the
in the
ministry.
ministry. Like, also, of course, where we would live, some of the places we lived were not all that, you know, like honorable in the sense of raising our children,
kids,
you know,
environment.
the environment and all that. And every time I would, like, every other year, it was my prayer point.
Yeah.
God, honestly.
Change our story.
Yes,
Story.
change.
Yes.
Yeah, but one thing I have learned is to live by faith.
Yeah.
But also know that there is time when the fullness of time comes, when God makes things beautiful.
In his
Absolutely.
Yeah,
time.
so
Yeah.
in that moment of, you know, of course, lack, discomfort, sometimes we want to rush it, yeah, but yet God is building something.
Something, yeah.
Yes, so it's an encouragement to
Yeah.
anyone believing God. Maybe things are tough, they are tight, but wait on God. He will surely
He's
make
faithful.
the things of your life beautiful.
Absolutely.
He can.
Yes, in the
He
fullness of
absolutely
time.
can. I mean, I
Yes.
wish we had more time. There are many stories I'm sure you haven't shared about your journey, but the bottom line is that God can actually restore.
Oh,
And
yes.
like the way you started is so
Yes.
vastly different
That's it.
from
They
where you
can't
are now.
meet.
Like they cannot. You are two different individuals. And we bless God for that.
Amen.
Bless God for that
Amen.
testimony. Thank you both for being here. And
You're
because you have been such wonderful guests,
I tell you.
Oh,
you take for the
wow.
children.
Surely. They get to benefit.
I have a little something for you from Newmans. Newmans
Yes.
are wonderful partners of The Good Wife,
Okay.
the makers of the best snacks in Kampala. Actually, no, in
I
Uganda.
agree.
Yes, because even up country you'll find some snacks from Newmans. So they have popcorn, potato crisps, gonja crisps, nuts. Recently also making peanut butter. They have a wide range of snacks that are perfect for conversations like this. We should have been munching, but
Yeah, sure.
a lot of the things we're saying might have. So this is for you.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you.
Receive it from Newmans and The Good Wife.
Thank you.
Yeah.
appreciate
Thank you both for coming. Just also to remind you that travails of a mother Second edition is happening on the 8th of February, 2025. Start the year in prayer. Start the year digging those spiritual wells for only 150K. It's a whole day event. You'll get some material, and of course, you'll have access to the speakers and just spend time in the presence of God. We have Nancy Owino, who was there for the first edition. Of course, Pastor Sarah Segane, who was on The Good Wife. You want to catch her there. And then, of course, Dr. Eunice Adobango, who is behind Travails of a Mother. If you are outside Uganda, you'd like to attend, or you're in Uganda and you may not be able to attend in person, 70,000 shillings to attend online, or $25. If you are in Nairobi, it's 2,700 Kenya shillings. In Rwanda, Kigali, it's 30,000 francs. So you can pay those on the numbers on your screen and plan to attend Travails of a Mother, second edition. From me to you, it's have a wonderful weekend. Keep it good, wife. Remember to subscribe and give this episode a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it. Let us know in the comment section if there's anything that has blessed you or stood out for you. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.